Language is a system of symbols with an agreed upon meaning that is used by a group of people. Language is a meaning of communication, ideas, or feelings by the use of sounds and signs, being the spoken and written language. When the child arrives in the Montessori classroom, he has full absorbed his culture language. He has already constructed the spoken language, and with his entry into the classroom, he will begin to consolidate the spoken language and begins to explore the written forms of language. Because language is an integral involvement in the process of thinking, the child will need to be spoken to and listened to often. The child will need a broad exposure to language with correct articulation, enunciation, and punctuation. The child will need to experience different moods of language and to hear and tell stories. Most importantly, the child needs to feel free and be encouraged to communicate with others. With the child's absorbed mind, the child by age 6 will have reached the third point of consciousness in language, where he understands that sounds and words have meaning and that these symbols can be used in writing. He will become fully articulate. He will be able to express himself in writing. He will be able to read with ease and have a full comprehension of the thoughts of others. The prepared environment. To help the child in his development in language, the Montessori classroom is designed to help the child reach the third period of consciousness because the learning of language is not done through subjects as in a normal classroom. The child is learning of his own rhythm. This allows the child to concentrate on his learning of each important step in language so that each progressive step is done easily and without any thought on the part of the child. The special material also plays an important role aiding the child develop the powers of communication and expression of organization and classification and the development of thought. Three period lessons. Introduction of the name to be learned. Practice associating in the names with the object. Confirmation that the names have been learned. The three period lesson is a teaching technique used to give formal vocabulary lessons. Language is given after experience of that which is to be named. The three period support the three stages of learning. First period, introduction of the names to be learned. Lay the primary colors in a row on the table in front of the child. Isolate one and say, "This is blue." Do the same for each tablet, in turn encouraging the child to say the name each time. Repeat the names for each tablet in turn with the child. Second period lesson. Practice associating the names with the object. The teacher gives each name in turn, asking the child to point out the object named This is first done without moving the object. Then the object can be moved about to challenge the child and to keep the lesson interesting. Movement helps the child learn. The teacher can use questions or short commands or which is the child will respond by indicating or moving the object name. This is the longest period and must be kept interesting. When the child can associate the name with the object, the third period can start. This may be on the same day or on a later day. Third period lesson. Confirmation that the names have been learned. The teacher indicates one object and asks the child, "What is this?" The child says its name. Repeat it for each object. This can be done in any order. If the name is not known by the child, the teacher gives it again and continue with the second period activities until the child is ready for the third period. Oral language exercises. When the child arrives in a Montessori classroom, he already has a complexion of the spoken language. During his first 3 years of life, the child has been constructing his language, and now in the Montessori classroom, he will be consolidated what he knows. Because the child's will is being constructed, he can consciously begin to explore language. This is the perfect time for the child to get correct tools in his home language. To teach the child correct oral language, Montessori split the learning into two groups. The first group she called the entrenchment of vocabulary. In these activities, the child learns new words on a daily basis through formal lessons and classified groups. The second group of oral work is called language training. In these exercises, the child experiences a great variety of language experience. He learns through the many forms of lectures, exercises in self-expression and games to learn the grammar of the language. Through both of these groups to exercise the child's late learning in reading will be facilitated by the recognition of words. This is the foundation for all other language expressions. The purpose in Montessori's oral language lessons are vast. Children will gain clarity in speech, a large expansions of vocabulary, familiarity in various aspects of language, such as correct usage of the language, artistic expressions, and a large range of language awareness of the language structures, and most importantly an apprehensions indirectly prepared for the written language for a creative writing and later total reading. In the oral language lesson, material are used from the classroom to aid the child's learning. Some lessons call for object directly in the classroom. Other lessons call for classified cards, different prices, different pieces of lecture, and even the directors as a language model and, and source for learning, because the directors is such an important part in the child's growth in the oral exercises. It is important for her to remember to do these lessons on a daily basis with every child in the class. Language training. You can teach them language through stories. You can teach them language through poems. You can teach them language through self expression and language games. Written language exercises. The oral language is spoken, heard, and then disappeared. The written language is here forever. There are many stages in the teaching of writing, but in the end, the child will not only learn to write, but he will be on his way of reading. With, with what the child has learned from his oral language lesson and these new two tools, the child will have almost fulfilled the entry of being fluent in his home language. When the writing when the written language is taught to the child, the directors will always start with something the child knows. She will begin with the use of symbol that each represents a sound, otherwise known as the alphabet. Then the child will learn the keys of the written language such as grammar and syntax. Using the newly learned sounds, the child will be able to quickly put sounds together in a correct order to form a word that has meaning to him. For example, the sounds H, A, T will no longer just be individually sounds. The child will put the sounds together to form the word hat. Through the child's ability to write, he will become part of civilization that can record their thoughts, history, and achievements. Writing is a social tool the child will use forever. Through writing, the child will be able to communicate, to express himself. He will gain independence and will develop socially. Writing is not only a necessary tool in our society, it is building foundation for reading. Through the child's work with sounding out each sound is a word, he is indirectly prepare himself to the tools he will be using when he begin to read. When the child began to use the movable alphabet to create words from their sounds, he is directly preparing himself for reading. Once a child arrives at the point of reading, writing, and reading begin to take a parallel, parallel road to give the child the reward of the to give the child the reward of how to preserve his thought and to let read about others is a great privilege the director has the honor of undertaking. Sounding games. Material. Object in the environment. A collection of small objects on a tray. Beginning sounds. Material. A mat or table to work on. A few familiar items or a group of objects. Sandpaper letters. The letters of the alphabet cut out the sandpaper and mounted on thick cardboard on words. The consonants are mounted on pink board and the vowels on blue board. Oral language exercises. When the child arrives in a Montessori classroom, he already has a complexion of the spoken language. During his first 3 years of life, the child has been constructing his language, and now in the Montessori classroom he will be consolidated what he knows. Because the child's will is being constructed, he can by meaning of muscular and visual memory of the appropriate symbols. Preparation for writing and reading. Movable alphabets. Movable alphabets in compartment box are lettered the same colors, two sets each are different colors from the others. A mat of an appropriate size for some of the exercise. To stand with a sloping back and a narrow cornice at the bottom on which rest 10 metal forms with matching metal insert. The square forms are pink and the inserts are blue. In the corner of each insert is a knob by which to hold it. The insert are square, triangle, circle, rectangle, oval, pentagon, triangle, and square. They, they have actual the same arrangement as the wooden inside of the geometric cabinet. A plentiful supply of white and colored paper, which is the same size as the frames and boards. Color pencil in pencil hold. Writing. Writing is a complete act that requires intellectual process combined with manual dexterity and is the ability of express thoughts which for example. Activities that make this possible were of special interest of Montessori, who realized the great importance of indirect preparation. The child had prepared his hand and his mind to then be able to write. When all the component of language come together and the child realized he can write is what Montessori called an explosive phenomena. Why handwriting is best learned now? During the time when writing is introduced to child, the child's sensitive periods are helping the child investigate his environment. The child is attracted to order in anything, and there is order in writing, such as how to make the letters, the orders in sounds represented by letters, and the orders in the structure of the language as a whole. The child has been prepared for writing through his past experience in the classroom, which begins with the sound games to help the child realize that words are made up of sounds. Then the child worked with the sandpaper letters to help the child become aware that each sound has a symbol. In the movable alphabet, the child was able to put a thought into symbol first by writing a single word, then a then a complete sentence, and finally a story. The last direct preparation the child will have before he begins to write will be his work with the metal inset. This will help the child to learn how to correctly hold a pencil and will make the child practice different strokes, help the child learning about pencil pressures, and will make the hand read and the and will make the hand ready for handwriting. Clear preparation help the child write better and to assess his own work. Refinement of movement is also very helpful for the child who is learning to write. He is interested in the movement of making the letter. The child's hand is flexible and malleable, and his movement is not yet set. Touch is still quite visible, and the child will make conscious attempt to stabilize his movement as he began to work with the writing exercise. The child's absorbent mind help him to absorb the image of the letter and also help the child absorb the importance of writing in the important in the culture, and the child will take that it the contribute to child's deep desire to write. The children will come to realize that writing is not just any mark put on paper, but is made of special marks. Known these special marks help the child to do special writing. Communication is a human tendency, and writing gives the child this satisfaction. Mystery of writing is developmentally important because it is a major part in the child's ad- adoptional in the environment and gives the child another level of independence. Writing with the movable alphabet will come a few months before handwriting, and somewhere in the beginning of handwriting, the child will begin to read. From there on, writing and reading will develop each other and will support the development of each others. After the child has learned to learn, After the child has learned to write, development exercise will help the child begin his handwriting to a very high level. His writing will be legible, beautiful, and unique. All of the children will learn to write, but each does not. But each does so in his own way. Uniqueness is fixed when the writing is well established. What is set in the child tended to remain fairly well intact throughout adulthood and highlights how important the preparation are. So this childhood equations will be correctly set. The skill of writing is a practical skill that also enables the child to write creatively. Through these handwriting exercise, the child will be able to make his own personal expression and put his own thought on paper. Two areas of preparation. Preparation of mind. Develop will and concentration. Follow a cycle of work. Establish the work habit. Left to right mental orientation. Build order and sequence. Vocabulary, task, tool, functions, feelings. Paper of hand. Strength and refine pencil grip. Coordinate wrist and arm movement. Coordinate and refine hand movement. Left to right muscular orientation. Hand eye coordination. Coordinate movement of the whole body. Indirect preparation of the sensorial exercise. Preparation of mind. Refine the sense of accurate perceptions, ability to compare with accuracy, further interrelations, further internalizations of order and sequence, ability to classify and organize. Pair of hand, strength and stabilized precise movement, established three-finger grip with knobbed material, lengthness in touch, holding a styles, moving the hands in limited space, tracing shapes. Indirect preparation of the language exercise, preparation of mind, vocabulary enrichment, language training, clarity and correct speech, absorb various modes of expression, become aware of usage, explore the structure of language, experience good literature, become confident. Direct preparation of the language exercise, preparation of mind. Sounds game 2. Become aware of the sound in a word. Establish ability of identify each sounds and its position in a word. Master the analysis of words. Sandpaper letters for a mental, a mental image of the letters. Movable alphabet for analysis of words. Association symbols with sounds. Place sound symbols in order. Practice in practice in expressing thought with symbols. Learn to make phrases and sentence. Being to write stories. Preparation of the hand. Sandpaper letters for muscular memories. Metal insets to learn to use writing instruments, control pressures, hold and move a pencil, make up and down strokes, go from left to right, stop and start as needed, make continuous strokes, relax arms and hand, work in limited space, turn wrist to guide pencils. Chalkboards material, small tray large enough to make a sandpaper letter, enough sand in the tray to cover the board. The first board is blank on one side and rule to guide the placement of letter of the other sides. The second board has one side ruled is squared and the other's rule is horizontal lines. Blank board and chalk tray, sandpaper letter, square board, chalk paper, chalkboard with square and chalk tray, sandpaper letter, double guideline board and chalk tray, sandpaper letters, single line boards, sandpaper letters. To give the child practice in writing on paper, material which can use writing paper, some black and some rules to guide the placement of letter. One paper size provides for one line of writing, others have 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines or 5 lines. A full sheet with one ruled line at the bottom and another with 2 ruled lines at the bottom are also included for use with pictures. Magazines pictures of single items, hat, pet, lamp in a box and of sense of and people in another box. Lead pencils, items needed to make booklet such as paper, covered scissors, hole punch, colored yard and crayons. Trays for assembling writing supplies and or art supplies. Objectives: to give the child ideas for writing practice, to encourage story writing, creative expression. Reading. Reading should be an exacting discovery for the child and can occur in a similar way as the child discovered writing. He may be looking at what he has written and realize that he can read what he wrote. When reading is discovered and not taught, his child can have a lifelong love of reading. Reading allows the child to connect with the thoughts of others from the past and the present. It helps the child develop his personality and his intellectual. The child will read to get information in the same way they see the order they see the older children and adults of their society do. Once the world of books is open to the child, the sky's the limited. Some children are so excited by the ability to read. They will want to read and read and will do so at school and at home whenever they have the time. For the child who reads, we must provide a number of books we needed to be sure we have a great variety. Children enjoy books about people, others place, about animals and birds and flowers, about events from the past and about everyday life. The child recognized the immensity of information possible to get from reading. In today's world, the information age, the ability to read means the child will be able to read all the things of interesting to him. In today's developed countries, knowing to read and write is important for the development of the whole being. Literacy is part of the human's whole adoption. He must be able to write the language, read the language, and what without reading, the person is not fully independent. Montessori viewed the writing language are part of the child's heritage. With this view, an adult has a responsibility to the child to then give him the home language. Mastery of writing and reading makes it possible for the child to see the wonders that come from the thoughts of others and the enjoyments that comes from finding out those things we are highly interested in. Some children will come to read in an explosive period when reading all of the sudden happens to the child. If this does not happen, there are two stages of reading. The first is when the child learned the mechanism of reading. The child will be given the experience and keys needed to master the language. The first key being that the sound can be represented by symbol, be seeing the symbol and putting the sound together. The child can come to finding a word that has meaning. As the child practices reading, he will master the mechanism and will move to greater and greater ease of reading. The second stage is when the child reaches the level of total reading. This meaning the child is interrupt reading. At this level, the child does not read word by word by word. Some children will only begin reading by stages, but once a child starts to read, they will begin to read almost anything. There are many interesting things to read at all stages of the exercise, and by offering the child enjoyable activities, readings is mastered through positive experience. In the end, our goal is to create a child who can use reading for both practical and playable purpose. Material. S- Supply tray for the presentation. Read cards about 20 centimeter to 8 centimeter for independent activity. Action words the child can readily understand and so using symbol for the sounds known to the child. Objectives. Reading practice child translate into action what he reads. Sensorial experience of verbs. Puzzle words. Material. Cards about 20 centimeter to 8 centimeter of any color except red on which are written words of irregular construction. Cards are separated into color group to help the directors remember what group of words she has presented to the child. There is no relation between the words in one group. Objectives. To teach the children the irregular words. Little booklet. Material. 3 or 4 page booklet with illustration on the left page and a single sentence of text on the opposite page. Functions of words. The functions of word exercise are a series of activities in which the child is given a sensorial experience of the functions of the various part of speech. They are designed to focus on one part of speech at a time. The function is highlighted by the child's sensorial experience and is further emphasized by the use of colored symbols. The symbols also strengthen the order of words to the child. These exercises offer the child possibility to explore his home language. They are not grammar lesson. They are grammar experience because these are not meant to teach grammar. The experience are not given as formal lesson on the names of the part of speech and no definition argument. The child's simple experience the functions. However, the child may absorb the names as it can be used. For example, when the child is playing the adjective game, he will understand its meaning. Parts of speech given in the primary class are the noun, article, adjective, conjunctions, prepositions, verbs, and the adverb. This is the order in which they are presented. Noun: large black triangle. Article: small light blue triangle. Adjective: dark blue triangle. Conjunction: small pink rectangle. Preposition: green crescent. Verb: large red circle. Adverb: small orange circle. The child will then rise to a level of interest on a language he speaks. He is now at a point where he will realize that words have special functions and can be classified by this function. These exercises are to be presented when the child can read most words with ease and no longer require sounds the out. This usually comes when the child can read more than one word at a time. This will come from the child's work in reading classification. The function experience will offer him further reading practice. The world will therefore go parallel with late reading classification work, which is mostly guided by the directors. Because of the sensitive period of language, each new function is an interesting new discovery. Many of the exercises are done in small groups. The activities are not only interesting but are also great fun, which will only add to the child interested in his own language. The Ant and the Grasshopper story in English is undoubtedly the favorite moral story to most of us. We all grown up to this The Ant and the Grasshopper since our childhood. It is the magic of this moral story is English that tells moral in the simplest way. Once upon a time there was an ant and a grasshopper who lived nearby each other along the river's meadows. The ant was known for its hard-working nature. It always believed in working hard and prepare for the future. On the other hand, the ant also enjoyed her hard work. She believed hard working today will help in time of needed. The grasshopper, on the other hand, was lazy. It always believed in enjoying the moment. The grasshopper ate whatever it found for that day. It never had it never had future planning. During one summer season, as usual, the grasshopper was sitting lazily on a branch of tree. The grasshopper was singing. At the same time, the ant was passing by the tree. The ant was carrying a load of food to her home. Aunt's idea is to save the food for the future when it might become taught to find food. The lazy grasshopper see the ant. It say, "Oh, you poor ant, you are a fool. Why do you work so hard all the time? Look at me, how I enjoy it. Why don't you stop working hard and enjoy like me?" The ant smiled and said, "Hey grasshopper, I am already enjoying my work. I am I am saving the food for the winter season. It helps me when the snow falls and we cannot find any food outside. I suggest you also save some food for your winter." Saying that, the aunt walked away. The next day, the same continued. The aunt carried the food and preserved it in her home. while the grasshopper enjoyed and just had no planning for winter. Every time the grasshopper saw the ant working hard, it made fun of it. It mocked and called it a fool to work like that. Days and months passed on like this. The winter breezing started. The ant and the grasshopper could not move out of their homes because of the snow and freezing climate. The trees were filled with snow, the lakes froze. There were nothing in the sight that could help provide some food. The grasshopper started suffering from hunger. It could not move out, nor did it have any stocked up food at home. The grasshopper could not bear the hunger anymore. It decided to visit Aunt's house for help, for the grasshopper knew that the aunt had saved enough food for its winter. The grasshopper knocked on the door of the aunt. The aunt opened the door and was surprised to see the grasshopper. The aunt wished it and welcomed it. The grasshopper said, I am feeling very hungry. Please share some food for your stock. The aunt understood the situation of the grasshopper. It shared some food with it. The grasshopper felt very thankful to the ant. It realized its mistakes of not working hard and planning for the future. For the next summer onward, the grasshopper too joined the ant. It started working hard along with the ant and understood how important it is to work hard and plan for the future. The moral of the story: the ant was hardworking, it has foresight about tomorrow. At the same time, the ant believed in enjoying her work. She never felt that working for tomorrow's saving for, for tough times in burden. That was the secret for the happiness even at hard times. Hope you all likes my lessons and stories. The next story is The Fox and the Crow. Fox and the Crow story is one of the famous moral story of children. The story tells the most valuable moral to kids through characters in a simple way. It is such a popular moral story for kids that almost every one of us might have heard of it since our childhood. If you are looking for telling a moral story to children, then the Fox and the Crow story will make a great choice. Once upon a time, a cunning fox was living nearby a town. It was known for its cunningness and sweet words that could flatter anyone. One day, while it was walking in search of food, the fox saw a crow sitting on a tree. The cow had a juicy piece of cheese in its beak. The fox's mouth started watering at the very sight of the cheese. The fox thought, why should I go in search of food somewhere else and waste my energy? Let me somehow grab the cheese pieces from this innocent crow. Thinking this, the fox wished the crow, Hey beautiful crow, good morning. The crow did not respond as it known that the fox is not so friendly in nature. The fox thought, I have to chance my technique. The crow has to open its mouth. Somehow, let me try once again. Thinking this, the fox said, Hey crow, You are looking so beautiful today. Look at your feathers, how shining they are with the morning sunshine. You are looking gorgeous today. These words started convincing the crow. The crow thought, maybe I am beautiful. Otherwise, why will the fox for praise me? This might not be as bad as I thought. Within this thought, the crow's face glowed and blushed with happiness. The silly fox was observing the change. It was this moment the fox was waiting. It knew that by flattery anyone will forget the truth and do whatever is requested from them. The fox continued, do you know, Crow, all the animals were talking about who could be the sweetest singing in the whole town here. I said, you have the sweetest voice of all. You should prove you should prove that your voice is sweet. Come on, please make me happy with your sweetness voice by singing a song. The crew is now ultra the crew is now flattered, she thought. Wow, how kind of this fox it is taking about my greatness and sweet voice with all others animals. I must prove that my voice is the sweetest. Let me singing a melody song and make this fox friend of mine happy. Thinking so, it opened its beak and started singing. Caw, 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 wah, wah, wah. At the very next moment, the piece of cheese fell from its beak to the ground. The fox, which was waiting for this chance, grabbed the cheese without any delay. The fox said, oh, you foolish crow, you might have a beautiful voice, but your brain are empty. Ha ha ha. The crow was astonished. It could do nothing but to watch in disappointment. Say this, the fox what Saying this, the fox walked away happily with the cheese. The crew learned its lesson that flattery brings one's downfall. Moral of the story, flattery brings one's fall. One should never believe someone who is praising us for no reason. Practically, we must be careful with strangers who do not know much about us but start praising us for no reason. By listening to flattery, we will forget the reality, but listening of flattery, we will forget the reality. That is the ill power of flattery. Many people around us try to please us and better us for their works to be done. Application of this moral in real life. Feedback and criticism may sound harsh but actually will help in our growth. For example, your parents and teachers might say that you should change your habits or stop your bad habits. They may sound harsh, but they help you to grow into a good individual. On the other hand, your bad friends might try to flatter you and take advantage of you. This will this you will realize only after the harm is done. So remember, while flattery and praise may sound like honey, they bring our downfall very soon. So children always remember this. This is moral that the fox and the crow story for kids teach us. Kids love listening to stories. It helps them visualize the sense and the narration. But telling them a story, parents can boost their creativity when compound to showing them movies or handing them digital device. Moral stories are also a great way to strengthen the bond with kids. When you tell stories, they pay attention and listen to you with intense respect. This implies to them mom or dad know me things and we should listen to them always. Thus, please, this habit of telling stories to children whenever you find the time. It may be while you are traveling or during bedtime or any time you feel like your children in something that will help them lifelong. Please explore our others range of moral stories for kids in English too. Happy reading.
Audio Jungle. 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 Audio Jungle.